Hello, everybody. What is going on? I've not done a video in this series for a long time, and I thought I'd address all of you guys with what's been going on, just to keep part of this sort of documentary style thing behind the scenes that we're doing. So, me and Helen have basically been saving up as much as we can from our pay packets since we had our first mortgage meeting at the start of the year. The guy was telling us about how up to the 4th of April, when the tax year ends, it's important to try and get as much of our deposit away by then as possible, just as a nice milestone, something to work towards. Before then, we try and get a thing called a decision in principle, and then we'll have a bit more of an idea of an actual budget we can start shopping at houses for. Since that meeting, we've also been up to York, which obviously is the location that we're aiming to move to, and we've made friends with a few different people who are really lovely over there in the estate agents world. There's a lot of different estate agents up in York, as you can imagine, with it being quite a populated city. And we had a few chats with them and a few discussions with them, and we've stayed in contact via emails and stuff. They've been lovely. The team that we've used, the two different or three different estate agents we're with at the minute, have all been really lovely. And obviously, there'll be a more clear, definitive winner, I guess, of the one that we actually pursue working with a bit further in regards to actually securing a house. But they all were lovely people, really lovely people. If you're a young person, which obviously this series is obviously about mine and Helen's journey of moving into a house, but obviously you guys too, who might be out there not on the property ladder yet. Mortgage meetings can be quite scary for people, and obviously meeting with estate agents, if you've never done that before, you've got no friends and family who are estate agents, that can also be quite scary too. So having that confidence to just kind of walk in and have a chat with somebody takes a little bit out of people sometimes. But I'm here to tell you that honestly, they're lovely people. The three different people we've been into so far have been lovely. They've been really nice staff, really knowledgeable, but really kind and really open to go really slowly and walk you through the whole process, explain how everything works. And like, you might think, oh, I don't want to waste the time, or I'm not ready to buy it right now, or whatever the situation is. Just go and talk to them. If you're someone who's serious, you're by yourself, you're with a few friends, or you're in a couple, and you're looking to purchase your first property, definitely go and speak to an estate agent, because honestly, they're lovely. Some of the loveliest people we've ever met. Now, obviously, it does come with a filter, and it comes with a pinch of salt, because obviously they're trying to make money. That's their job, is to sell you a house at the end of the day. So they're not necessarily going to be awful. But even in jobs like retail work or fast food restaurants or restaurants in general, some in the service industry, sometimes even though you're paying obscene amounts of money to those people and their businesses, sometimes they can still have a bit of an attitude with you. So maybe because they're quite professional, most of the time they're in suits and you see them in these big fancy buildings, that does create a little layer of like nervousness about speaking to them. But honestly, they're the loveliest people I've ever spoken to. They're really nice. And the mortgage people that we used a guy called Tom at First Mortgages in Manchester. A lovely guy again. He was sensational. Really nice and knowledgeable. Answered every one of mine and Helen's questions, and we had lots of them. We went in with a big notebook of questions. And yeah, always ask questions. If you forget any questions, write them down and email them to people, because people will get back to you. At the end of the day, their job is to help you buy a house, whether it's a mortgage provider or a estate agent. You know, it's always about getting you into that building is the basic end game. And then the hardest bit, really, it's like the money side of stuff is the hardest bit. Because obviously, me and Helen are lucky in the sense that we both work, we're both in full time jobs, we both have no children, we both have no pets, we have no bills to pay because I'm here with my family, she's there with her family. So we're able to just hoard basically as much money as we can towards the project of buying a house, and that's helped us massively, because obviously once you start renting, and then that's money lost every month, and then you might lose your job, and then obviously that's an income gone. You might have some kids and they're really expensive, you might have pets, you might have, if you live abroad, you might have medical bills. It's a really house of cards type situation. Like, if one piece of the puzzle falls down, it's very easy to see a whole collapse happen and a chain reaction. And it's so hard. It is hard. It's not. No one should sit there. I see idiots on social media who want to get like clicks off videos of people being like, "Oh, it's so easy. All you've got to do is be sensible with your money." It's so easy to say that rather than to physically put it into practice. Because I grew up with terrible financial illiteracy. I knew nothing of maths. I was very, really poor at maths in as a subject in school, but then especially finances growing up. I was always just a type of kid who was given pocket money and then given free reign to do as he pleased. I didn't really get told to open a savings account or an investing account or anything like that. I had a normal current account opened when I was old enough, and just given pocket money to buy games, buy Lego, go on days out, see friends, buy people presents for birthdays and Christmases, and that was it. But Helen's family did it completely differently. Now, they had a start that was probably a bit different from everyone else's start. They worked in a bank. They worked as part of a banking system, so they understood everything about money, everything about saving money, and about investing your money well into different things. So they obviously had a better understanding of maths than a normal person would, because they work around maths and numbers and money and stuff. So if you've got a family member who works in finance, it might be worth having a quick conversation with them and just asking them to give you some advice, because they might be able to, or they might be able to put you onto a service. Social media wise, the only person you should really be listening to, especially if you live in the UK, is a guy called Martin Lewis. He's a really knowledgeable man. I found him through COVID times when I was with my girlfriend, and a brilliant, smart, genius businessman who knows everything he can about saving money, saving tips, financial advice, other advice. He's a really helpful guy on social media, and he's been around the block a few times. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's a good bet to bet on for being secure with your money moving forwards. Payments and spending, a massive struggle for people who obviously have those, like we listed before: families, homes, rent, shopping bills, food bills, electric bills, kids, animals, pets, medical bills, all these types of bills to pay. Obviously that's so hard to then try and go, oh my god, I've got this mountain of outgoings, and then I've got to put away X amount of money per month. That's so hard. I know that's hard. I know that's difficult. But it is a problem that you can solve yourself. It's only a problem you can solve yourself. You can't kid yourself that you can borrow infinite amounts of money and never pay it back. You can't kid yourself that, like, eventually you'll have a time in your life where you'll save up enough money. You do have to really look at what you can cut out of your life versus what you can afford to keep in it. That could be things like going to cheaper restaurants, looking at better travel advice when you're going on trips. Try and stay within the UK if you're obviously, or in your country of origin if that's where you're saving money. Try and stay within your country. I know it can be tempting in the summer to always try and get a little holiday somewhere or get a trip abroad when you're off work. I know it's tempting, I know it's rewarding, but honestly, if your bigger goal is to move into a house, it's the question you've got to ask yourself: is the holiday more important than the houses? Do I mind getting pushed back another year or two by waiting and wasting? It's all those questions. And more than anything, if you're a solo person, you've got 100% of that financial responsibility. It's all on you. That's really difficult. If you're somebody who's in a couple, and one of you is like a thrill seeker, spending everything, live life, for the living, and not be a forward thinker and a forward planner, that can be really hard. I can understand that dynamic is then again where you're probably going to have to go into a deeper level of conversation with each other about what decision making process we're going to do here. But me and Helen luckily worked like this. I came to university with no more than 50 quid in my pocket, which was mad, at like 19 years of age. I'd never had a full-time job before. I worked once or twice on television, and that was really it. And then obviously my YouTube wasn't even monetized fully by the time I was at university. I got monetized the first year I was there, so I didn't start earning money on the YouTube channel until my first year at uni. So I went to university with like 50 quid in my pocket, and that was all I had. That's literally all I had. And my partner came from a family who had obviously grown up in the world of banking and finance, and she'd been educated and things had been set up for her and put into place for her to help her understand maths a bit easier and numbers and money a bit easier. And then obviously she shared that knowledge with me, because I think this is hard when you're the one in the relationship to have to hold your hands up and say, I don't know anything. I'm coming as a clean slate. I've got no background in this. I don't know, what it's like. Obviously, I used to get like, say, £10 pocket money a week, and then say a game comes out and that's a £50 game. That's 5 weeks of saving, and that was probably the extent in which I did it. Apart from that, it wasn't really more conversated about. Money was always kind of a dirty word where I was growing up. Like, my dad made lots of money. He worked hard. He had a few different jobs. My mum was obviously, she stayed at home and she looked after my sister when she lived with us. She looked after me as my mum when I was in school and stuff. So it wasn't like I sat down with my mum and dad and kind of, we talked about paying your tax or what a bill looks like or what getting your pay slip looks like and your P45s and all this. And we didn't learn about that in school, and I didn't learn about that at home. So I really did grow up with like no knowledge of like numeracy when it came to financial understandings. It was a big gap in my knowledge, and I was brave enough, I guess, if you want to call it that, to turn around and suggest I need help. Like, ask Helen, what the hell do I do? Because when you go to uni, this is the best thing in the world, but it's also really scary. When you go to uni, the government will pay you money to go to uni. And when you go to uni and you get that first grant off the government, most people are like, oh my god, I'm rich, because they've never seen that money in their life. And they're like, oh my god, I can do everything. I can buy new shoes, I can buy new clothes, I can go on holidays, I can do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get a big lump sum of money and be like, yes, I'm rich. That's not at all how that works. Be so careful, because when I got my first lump of money and I saw a number on the screen in my current account that's bigger than any number I'd ever seen before, I remember that excitement and that buzz and that rush, and then I remember literally being scared and turning to Helen and being like, I need your help, because I don't know what to do. I've never had this much money before. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with it. And like, she sat me down, she explained how it was going to work and what we were going to do, and we talked about things. And then I had an ISA set up, and then I turned it into a LISA, because LISAs are better. And now we're at a point where, and obviously I'm not going to get too personal and tell you like actual numbers and things, but we're now at a point where together, because again, we're working this as a partnership, because there's two of us, that obviously does make it a little bit easier for us, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. If you decide to do it alone, then you're doing it alone. If you decide to do it as a partnership, you're doing it as a partnership. And together, we were able to, by the 4th of April, which will be like when this video goes live, we have now been able to actually pull together a whopper of a deposit that was like above and beyond what the mortgage provider suggested to us. And it was just through pure savings. It was just through being really smart and clever for the last 2 years, really being passionate about putting money away and storing that away for the house, and having those conversations about where we wanted to live. And I mean, I've always voted for abroad. I've always voted for abroad, because my dad, I think my dad's the reason in a way, because my dad, when I was very small, my dad would always take us on holiday to a place in Spain called Benidorm, Alicante. A lot of you guys in the UK will probably know what that is. It's quite a popular holiday destination for UK tourists. We had a caravan over there on a caravan site, and every summer, 6-week summer holidays as a kid in school, I would be over there, and he'd take me and my mum and my sister and my family all over there, and we'd stay there for the 6 weeks because we owned the caravan. All we paid for was like the flights there, the flights back, and all the food while we were there, like shop it like you would at home. So essentially, for 6 weeks of the year, every year for like the last, I'd say maybe 23, 22 years, I basically lived in Spain, like with my family. We all just lived on this caravan site, and it was sick. It was like, I had genuinely it's like the best budget-friendly holiday you could do, and I had genuinely some of the best memories. And like every now and then, like we'd go on a random like trip to somewhere else, or we'd try somewhere new. Like obviously I went to Florida, which was amazing. I've been there now luckily twice with family, and once with just me and Helen. We just went and did it ourselves, which was cool. And then on top of that, I've been able to see a lot of different places in the world, but this Spain holiday, we just constantly go there, and it was a lot of fun. And I realized it. A lot of the older people would say like it's just England in the sun, and it really is. It really is just England in the sunshine. Everyone you talk to is English. They speak English. You can understand them. It's dead easy to understand how everything works there. Everyone's lovely. They're really nice and friendly. And it was a lovely atmosphere, and I was really lucky to have those memories growing up, because those are some of my favourite memories from childhood, is getting on that plane and going to Spain for 6 weeks and just living in Spain. And I loved it. My dad wanted to live out there for a long time, but I think he didn't in the end. He didn't choose to. He's ended up staying in England all of his life, and my mum spent all of her life in England, and my sister nearly had the opportunity to go and live in Dubai for a long time because of a job, but she didn't end up taking that, and in the end she stayed in England all her life. So I don't want to be like that fourth person in a generation, like probably like more than fourth in the generation, because like grandparents never left, other people never left. I don't want to be that additional person in the line to just be born in England, live his whole life in England, die in England. That's not my cup of tea. I want to see further afield. I want to experience life abroad. I've got a cousin who's been brave enough, or two cousins who've been brave enough to venture across the waters and go off country and see all what the world is. And I've got friends and people I went to school with and people I look at, keep in contact with. They're all over the world. And like, I think it's so basic when the world's so gigantic to be such a small speck of it and never want to see beyond your borders. I think that's just nuts. Because the world's massive and there's so much to see. And if you stay in one tiny little square of land forever, it's horrible, really. It feels like a waste of your life. So that's been my motivation forever. And I feel like having conversations with Helen about it, she's, again, never been a homebound person, which I think is really lucky, because I think it would be so heartbreaking, and I've seen this with friends and relationships fall apart because of it. But when two people meet each other and they discuss futures, and they've been together for a few years now, like me and Helen are coming up to 8 years, which is like 2 years off 10, which is crazy. But we're coming up to 8 years, and we've chatted, and we've had lockdown together, and we've been through COVID, we've been through GCSEs, A levels, college, uni, sixth form, you name it. We everything graduated together. It's been a wild roller coaster for the last 8 years. It's been so cool, but so mental to see how far it's come. And we've had conversations and had those times to chat, and we're both really happy that we align visually with where we want to be and what we want to aim for, because it would be soul crushing. And I've seen friends and relationships deteriorate because somebody is a homebound person. They want to just stay in those same four walls. They never want to leave. They never want to see new horizons. They never want to go anywhere. And that's scary. That's really a waste of your life. That's really scary. And she was never like that, which was really good to see. And she's encouraged me about moving, and I've encouraged her about moving, and we've chatted together, and we've worked as a team. And again, what we're coming at is a project that is so hard to take on by yourself, and my hat is off to everyone who does do it by themselves, because I couldn't imagine a harder task than trying to move away and trying to be independent and be completely on your own. That would be so hard, because 100% of it's all on you. And me and Helen lean on each other all the time, and that's what you're supposed to be able to do in a good relationship. You're supposed to build each other up and be there for each other when you need to balance off each other, and she's really good at helping me with that, and I'm doing my best to come with her, and she tells me that all the time, and that's really nice to hear. And it's definitely a milestone that we're both jointly working together on. It's definitely a milestone that we're both passionate about, that we're both excited for the future. And it's been such a long road now, and we started talking about it maybe 2 or 3 weeks into university. The idea of living together came up, and everyone, obviously, before moving in together at uni, there was that big will they won't they moment where everyone was like, right, the honeymoon phase of a relationship will be over by then, they'll move in together, then we'll see what really happens. I think that kind of thinking came from like her mum and her sister, and maybe my mum and my sister, but they weren't as vocal about it. But we ended up moving into an apartment with 6 others, and then we ended up moving into just a house for 2, and we had lockdown there, and it was great. Like, those were the best years of my life, and I've missed them ever since I moved back here. I've missed them ever since, and Helen the same, and we, because we both are on that wavelength, it's made this project, incredibly difficult project, 10 times easier, because we both have the same understanding, we both have the same vision and the same roadmap, and we both work towards the same goal. And that's a goal shared is a goal halved, and that makes life 10 times easier. So I'm just making this video as a little chapter in the documentary, so we can put it all together and you can see what happens as we progress. But the budget for the putting money away every week has been really, really tough. I've been able to put away a considerably more than half of my pay packet, because I get paid every week, Helen gets paid every month. I've been able to put more than half of my pay packet away every single week for the last 4 weeks, and that's made a massive difference. And we've both been very, very brave and confident, and challenged ourselves to the max, really, to try and pool away as much money as we can before the end of the tax year, because the LISA that we're with will give us a big bonus if you do that. And like I say, we're just now at a point where our house deposit is very healthy, very strong, and moving us forward, it's gonna be basically the ammunition that we need to fire our way through into getting the property in the future. And it's a big step. It's a step that probably holds back 90% of people applying for a house. They just can't get a deposit together. They've got a good credit score, they might have good salaries, but they just cannot get that deposit together. And for whatever reason, they can't do it. And for whatever reason, well, for the reasons that I've just described, me and Helen have been able to do that. So our deposit is secure now. It's healthy. It's strong as hell. And I'm so proud of us, because it's been years of conversations and many, many months of hard work and time and dedication from both of us. And now we get to see a little bit of that payoff, which is beautiful. And now it's just on to step 2. So yeah, we'll keep you posted every step of the way. The videos might be quite spread out, because obviously with a house project, it's quite a big project. But we'll just keep you updated. And I'll try my best to keep you in the loop with everything that we're doing. And then obviously when we get day of getting the keys and moving in and all that cool stuff, then after that we'll do a big vlog, big documentary thing where you'll see the whole journey from start to finish. But you can keep up to date in real time by subscribing to the couples channel, which is the Telling channel, and we'll be more than happy to have you along the way, hopefully help you with some tips and tricks along the way as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.